guys, welcome back to Clockwork Danger Needles for another breakdown of Made in Abyss Season 2, Episode number 3. An amazingly intricate episode that I can't wait to discuss with you guys. Before we get going, make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel, and the poll results are in. What would be the next franchise you want me to make things from? The winner was Made in Abyss. I don't know if it's just because Made in Abyss is airing right now, but everybody has decided they want to see me make something from Made in Abyss. I am leaning very heavily on making Riko's helmet, the little adventuring helmet with a little bit on the front. I think I could have fun with it. I'd actually like to put a little LED in it so she has a little light torch as well. If you want to see that project underway, I will probably put some progress pictures up when that gets underway on the channel anyway, but that's going to be all on the Facebook page. Thank you guys for voting. It's got a very unique art style. I think I would love to get my teeth into it. Something a little bit different from what I've been making recently. I've been very much stuck in making tribal things recently. This is more steampunk, a little bit more adventure garb, so I'm very excited to do that. So if you're not subscribed to the channel, please make sure you give that subscribe button a bit of love. We are aiming to hit that 1k mark by the end of the year, just to start doing something bigger and better with the channel as well. Let's start talking about the Village of the Hollows. Oddly enough, the Village of the Hollows hasn't got a curse. I don't understand why the curse just stops. What's different about this layer? Why is it okay to go up when if you were going up in a different layer, you would die a horrible death? Hollows are confirmed to be humans. They went down to the Netherworld, so they went down to the final layer, I'm presuming, and then they decided to come back. Coming back, they had to trade in their bodies, their forms, and they have become hollows. However, they have seemingly retained a sort of humanity. They at least have the ability to function in a society, which we do get to explore a bit later on as well. I was curious if they actually recalled their former selves. So do you remember what happened before you became a hollow? Some of them look very natural and organic, but some of them look like puppets. And obviously this week we find out that hollows, they resemble the thing they desire. So let's say I enjoy crafting. My hollow form might be something quite creepy. Maybe I've got scissors on my hands, or I look like Edward Scissorhands maybe. That would be my form. That would be quite cool as well. It would be fun to see people start making hollows of famous actors and drawing them as a hollow. Oddly enough, the Hollows knew that Pruska, her true form, was not the whistle. I don't quite know what they're doing to her, but perhaps they are making her better. They're giving her an upgrade. I don't actually like the design that Pruska ended up turning into. I thought it was very creepy. It's that anatomical heart shape. I didn't quite like the resemblance of that because Pruska herself was so loving and caring. It would be nice to see if they could actually make her into a form that more or less resembles Pruska. Now, the Hollows seem intelligent enough to run a marketplace, have a somewhat functioning society. Inns, everybody has their own little thing that they do. This is where things get more interesting because everything is really interesting in Made in Abyss fashion. The world is fleshed out fully. We have a society that runs on the idea of value, and value isn't monetary. Value is something that is inferred. If I am a hair model, my hair is the most important thing to me. Somehow Abyss would know that that has got the highest form of value to me, so that would have a very high value. Riko's mother's letter is on sale at the marketplace. I would be curious to know if this means that she's still down there. Did she herself bring it down, or did she pass through and leave the letter behind as she passed on? Is Riko's mother down in the Netherworld? Is she still down there? Or did she come back and maybe she's a hollow somewhere and we don't recognize her because her form has changed? Don't know if they're ever going to unite. I do have hope that maybe one day we might at least have an answer to what happened to her properly. Value is a person, or value is something that you can break down into bits. If the puppet has a excess of eyes and it wants to give an eye, that is still going to have a value. So you can sell your body parts, which would probably fetch a price on the black market over here, but over there they would give you a value. You would trade that around, but eventually you're going to run out of a value, which is quite scary. Eventually a person's value would be reduced to nothing and you would cease to be. Do see the Hermit Dwellers are being sold by the Hollow, which has an excess of them. They are adorable. They seem to have homes on their backs like little shells. They are so cute. I really want one. They are absolutely adorable. I think they remind me of some kind of rodent that makes a really cute sound, but they're super fluffy. Really love the addition of putting a house on their back. Oddly enough, the Hollow selling them has an excess of them crawling around within its body. That's the creepy part. Every time I talk to you guys about every one of these episodes, there's always, this is the wondrous, amazing part. Now we're coming into the horror. The start of the horror. There's actually a scene that actually outdoes this for horror this week. Of course, there's a scene that is traumatic. It's Made in Abyss. A hollow is able to have a body that is retrospective of their desires. So you resemble what it is that you love. Have a guy who enjoys cutting up people or bodies. His body is made up of knives. I don't know what that means to the more organic creatures. Something like Mitty as well. Mitty turns into this thing with one eye. Maybe it's because they're so young that they haven't got any proper desires just yet. But we are told that hollows are people who challenged the Netherworld. They all went down to the Netherworld, but decided that they didn't want to stay down there. They wanted to come back up and live in the Golden City. They cannot leave, but they have protection. Whether that means they can climb up, and that's what their protection is, but that shouldn't really be affecting Rico, so I'm not sure if that's the protection. They do seem to have a protection of sorts, and Nanachi herself is called out to have been protected by a powerful desire to be the way that she is. She looks a little bit like the princess of the Hollows. Her form is somewhat resemblant of that form, so whether there's somebody who protected her as well that made her the way that she is. Got some theories, we'll talk about those when we get to that section. But we know that Nanachi was protected by Mitty, and her love for her was lucky enough to somewhat resemble a bit more of a humanoid. She looks relatively humanoid. That might be because someone protected her and gave her more of a value. Got loads of ideas formulating about this. And this is why you do not let people handle your pets. This is the traumatic scene that I was talking about. This scene is just horrible. I hated it. The Hollow literally squeezes Mena and gives her or him a prolapse. It's disgusting. I hate it. This is Maiden Abyss all over. Anything cute is suddenly defiled by the Abyss curse. That is actually, everything is traumatic and horrible. The horrors of the abyss. And even worse, we've got something called the Great Balancing, where things get very philosophical at this point, because if you have an excess or you take more than you have as a value, you are suddenly punished by something. I don't quite know what this is, whether it means that the abyss is conscious or not. One of the hollows take too much or does damage to something that is seen as very, very precious. I guess what that thing had was not enough to cover the value of the damage that was done to something so precious that it ends up seeing them completely taken apart. I don't quite know what the black beings are that come down to correct the balance, whether that is part of the abyss or whether this could also be a hint at what the nature of the abyss really is, and it is actually a conscious being or something. I don't quite understand why they only show up this far down. Value is determined by a person, a perspective. So Rico's value for Mena is outweighed by the damage that is suddenly done. So suddenly damage is done to something that she really loves. She values her highly. It results in the destruction of a hollow to the point where their own body is taken as payment. Prushka was apparently stolen by somebody else. Nobody's been punished for the stealing of Prushka yet. Rico ends up getting paid the excess that was stolen, and I do start to question a few things. So the Abyss has its own version of laws, which goes on the idea of value and balance and keeping things as they should do. The damage to an item ends up being repaid with another equal value item. It's all about equivalent exchange. The only thing I can really think about that everything has an equal value. It's Newtonian law as well. If you put something in, you're going to get an equal force somehow out. Luckily, at Mena's butt's expense, we do get quite a high payout, which is quite nice. This will give you enough to find food and find a place. Love the fact that Rico also picks up on language. This is a very valuable skill. She just picks up one certain word that she knows that she needs. I like the advice that you just stay calm and make yourself understood. If you're ever travelling around, is if you see something on a menu and you don't know how to communicate, you can point to it. I know pointing's generally rude, but if you want something on a menu, you can hit that in and just say, this is what I want on the menu. There are ways of doing it. Now we've got things like Google Translate. You can basically type in what you want. Hopefully Google Translate doesn't mess you around too much. You show that person and you at least get by. I love Rico. Again, positivity, always positive. She's witnessed something horrifically traumatic, still trying to be positive. This is a once in a lifetime opportunity. I'm going to take it. It may never happen again. That once in a lifetime opportunity ends up giving you diarrhea, and maybe Rico's also got IBS, but she doesn't live to regret it. She ate it, she tried it, gonna suffer on a toilet for a little bit. The new character is finally given a name as Fapta. Puta, a creature or a hollow who can go anywhere, somebody who is super powerful. It's said to be the embodiment of value. Someone so valuable, I guess you can go anywhere, do anything, because you are just that valuable. The nickname for this hollow is the Princess of the Hollows, and it's that girl. It's 100% that girl. Now I've got some theories. The reason she's taken on this form, similar to Nanachi, is somebody gave up a life for her. Definitely going to be that white and red-haired girl, right? The one we saw at the beginning who had the very traumatic childhood. It's going to be her. She gave up her life to protect protect Fapta is why she takes on such a valuable role, because there's two lives there. Her protection, her act of love in Harry Potter gives you a protection. Equivalent force, that life was given to protect you, therefore you take on that value as well. It's a nice little segue to show us the previous group who arrived earlier. We see their experience of meeting the Hollows, language also becoming a barrier, them trying to just show via actions and reactions that they come in peace, that they're just searching for the Golden City, somewhere that they are very happy to find out that they have actually finally reached. And then that's when they see that even the place that they're searching for is full of danger, that this hollow is eaten right in front of them. So it's a fantastic episode. It's actually got a very philosophical topic that it covers, and something that I've also covered in my philosophy sessions as well is the idea of value. Value is generally perceived. If I went up to you and as a ballerina or something, you knew your feet were your most prized possession, your feet would have more value than mine. How value is perceived and calculated. Is this the work of the abyss? I might have a high value of, say, my skills, but it may not translate very well. Maybe my skills aren't that good. Maybe I see myself as being bigger than I really am. Is the abyss going to take that into account? What actually qualifies to make up the idea of a value? How would you actually determine how much a person is worth? And how does the abyss know if somebody has committed an excess? Because when it comes to the actions of that hollow with Mena, it's Rico's words that seem to spur the great balancing on, because he asks her, how much is it worth? Is the value so precious that it can't be counted? And that is when we see that hollow being ripped to shreds, because if something is beyond valuable, your life is forfeit, you're gone. Also makes me wonder if the abyss is omniscient, it's everywhere, it can hear everything. Me suddenly saying, you just transgressed against me, you've done some damage to my stuff, it will suddenly jump into action and work out if a incurrence has happened. Fantastic episode, giving me a lot to think about. Horrific as always, but as wondrous as always as well. Love the look for Fapta. I think she looks ethereal. Something about that look is fantastic. There has been some discussion with me and another cosplayer to see if we will do a joint Maiden Abyss costume. One of us wants to be Nanachi. I'm considering just doing Rico maybe and have all the bits and pieces. I think it would be quite fun. Watch that space when it comes to cosplay related things. Thank you guys so much. I hope you aren't too traumatized by this episode, but another fantastic episode. Really enjoy it. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. It really does mean a lot. Have a good day, guys, and stay chill. Bye bye.